En vivo y en directo en Facebook, estamos en YouTube, estamos a través de nuestra emisora en tu iPhone, en tu Android, nos puedes escuchar. Pero ya tú sabes, we are switching back to English because as every Thursday, we are here with Gainesville Police Department. We are so awesome. It's so awesome to having, with us, Detectives Portal and Detective Chris. Yes, so we are very excited to have you guys. And as usual, we have our Corporal Gonzalez.
A petición popular.
Yes, by popular demand, baby. Ya tú sabes. And that's how we do it. That's how we do it. So, ladies and gentlemen, today it is such a great topic that we're going to be discussing. Vamos a estar hablando acerca de un tema tan importante como es cómo nuestros niños se mantienen a salvo en la internet. Internet safety for kids.
Correct.
That's what we're going to be talking today at Tu Fiesta Radio. But first of all, how are you guys doing this morning?
Ronnie? Doing wonderful.
Awesome.
I get a little nervous in these predicaments.
Oh, really? Okay. So we promise to behave then.
Because maybe if you didn't behave, it would put me at ease.
Okay, that's easy.
Yeah, because we have La Bandida here, you know. ¿Cómo tú dices La Bandida?
A good
bandit, yeah. We have Gaby and, myself, Elio, in case you are tuning in for the first time. Pero una vez más, tenemos a Corporal González que he's gonna be translating to Spanish, va a estar traduciendo también para esas personas que pues no hablan inglés. And how you been, Corporal González? We missed you a couple of weeks ago.
Muy bien, gracias.
Awesome.
Bienvenido.
I love it. Okay, so let's talk about safety, internet safety for our kids. I understand that we have a special department within GPT, right? To treat and to basically fight against, these predators and all the danger that our kids are exposed on the internet. So let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah, sure. Can I put this down a tiny bit?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so, since around the early 2000s, the Gainesville Police Department has had internet crimes against children.
Sorry, let me put the microphone a little closer. Perfect.
Internet crimes against children. Is that better? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, division, which is also known as ICAC, and we investigate internet crimes against kids. It's as simple as that. And most of those tips that we get come in through the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
Lo que el detective quiere dejar saber a la comunidad es que desde el inicio del año 2000, el Departamento de la Policía siempre ha tenido una unidad que se dedica solamente a crímenes de la internet, de las redes electrónicas, en referencia a los niños. Y usualmente los tips o las pistas anónimas que dejan las personas usualmente vienen de la base de datos de niños perdidos o secuestrados o en danger.
Oh, niños que están en peligro. And what are the most, I would say, the usual red flags that you guys, or alarms that you guys see out there for on the internet?
Yeah, so a lot of our tips, like I said, come from NCMEC, and if your audience can come away with one website today, it's missingkids.org with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. So they're the clearinghouse for all of our tips from our electronic service providers like Facebook, Kik, Instagram, WhatsApp, Twitter, whatever it may be. So we get the tips from them, and then we investigate these cases. And I think some of the red flags that you're going to see with kids are kids constantly on their phones, which I know is a really difficult balance right now because everyone has our phones, all of us included, right? And we're always on them. But it's probably that they're on their phones too much. Maybe they're putting their phones away when you come in the room. That's probably going to be a big red flag. Maybe up there on their phones late at night in times where they shouldn't be. Maybe their moods are changing because of their use on their phone. If you see them happy one moment and all of a sudden they're on their phone and they're really upset, it's probably another red flag.
Oh, wow.
All right, pues para sumarizar todo, pues usualmente un website o un correo electrónico que pueden definitivamente estar pendientes es el missingchildren.org. De ahí es que vienen todas las pistas, sea de Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, todas las redes electrónicas. De ahí es que vienen las pistas de estos niños y tal vez algunas de las banderas rojas o situaciones que los padres pueden estar pendientes es todo en referente al celular. Celular es un dispositivo bien popular, especialmente con los niños, y últimamente son mucho más jóvenes cuando vienen a tener celulares. Pero algunas de las banderas rojas o avisos que tienen que estar pendientes es si el niño pasa mucho tiempo en el celular, que es difícil de controlar porque ahora sí pasan muchos con juegos y todo, pero pasan demasiado tiempo en el celular. Están en una habitación solos o en el cuarto solos, están en el celular y tú entras y tratan de esconder todo bien rápido, como se ponen nerviosos. Eso es otra bandera roja. Y también el cambio de estado de ánimo. Si están contentos, después se ponen tristes. Todo, esos son las más principales que pueden estar pendientes los padres en estos momentos.
Qué maravilla. So, as a parent, I wanted to ask you, what are the signs or the red flags for the families that they need to be in the lookout? Well, you mentioned one of them, but other things that they can kind of like trigger like an alarm for us as parents, as families, and say, hey, you know, your kid might be in danger or may be exposed to something that can be controlling their behavior. What do you think that are those red flags?
Yeah. So, and if I can take a step back too, when we talk about internet safety, we're not talking. And let me ask you this: what do you think about when I say internet safety? What is your interpretation of the number one concern?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like watching and being around a safe environment on the internet.
Okay.
Because I know, like internet, I would say a dangerous internet environment would be things that our kids shouldn't be watching, or even like predators, like, you know, they are hunting like innocents, you know, to do what they do.
Right. So, and I'll cut to the chase. And we're talking about sexual predators here. Yeah. And sexual exploitation is probably the number one risk and concern when it comes to children online and what we view as far as the best practices with online safety. We can't forget and overlook that there's cyberbullying that's out there. There's also sharing too much personal information before it gets to, obviously, sexual exploitation, which is a big concern as well. Going back to your question with some of these red flags, I think the biggest thing that parents can do, and this is sort of just to add to it, is have constant and open communication with their children about what they're doing online. There's a great analogy that I heard actually from the folks at NCMEC years ago, and that's that we spend so much time teaching our kids how to drive safely. You know, from a young age, it's clicking their seatbelt on. As soon as they get in the car, first thing, we're putting our heads back, we're looking in the back seat. But how often are we actually having conversations about what are you doing on this phone today? Let me tell you about the sites that are safe, that aren't safe, what you should be expecting, how people should be treating you online. I don't know how much I can talk without going through the translation.
No, don't worry, I got it. So, de vuelta a la comunicación de los padres es esa misma palabra, comunicación. Eso es lo más importante, tener líneas de comunicaciones abiertas y sinceras con sus hijos. Una analogía que el detective está presentando es que pasamos mucho tiempo desde que los niños son pequeños cuando les enseñamos a conducir. Miramos para atrás, ponte el cinturón, ponte el seguro de seguridad para que estés seguro. Eso lo hacemos como todo el tiempo, hasta que se vuelve un hábito de hacerlo, pero no pasamos mucho tiempo haciéndolo con el celular o con aparatos electrónicos, computadoras, tabletas, celular. No pasamos tiempo comunicando, diciendo, ¿qué estás haciendo hoy en el celular, que en la tableta? Mira, déjame decirte qué páginas de internet son aprobadas, son seguras, qué páginas no deberías estar mirando, qué no es seguro. Y en otras banderas rojas que el detective estaba también mencionando es que el punto es que todo el mundo se preocupa es por los depredadores sexuales. Ese es el problema número uno o la preocupación número uno de los padres. Pero también hay que presentar que también está el cyberbullying, el bullying cibernético está también, dar demasiada información, proveer mucha información personal, que eventualmente esas cosas juntas puede llegar o llega a lo que viene siendo la depredación sexual.
Yo tengo una pregunta. Y en caso de que ese niño no se abra con su padre a decir lo que él está pasando, ¿hay una forma de que nosotros como papá podamos averiguar quién está detrás de ese teléfono o de esa computadora?
Okay. So her question is that basically, let's say the parents are trying to have that open dialogue, open communication, but the kid is very close in, not willing to open up. Is there something that the parents can do to try to figure out, or at least start figuring out who's behind on the other side of the tablet or cell phone. Or
Sure. I think the first thing you have to do, and this is just speaking from information and educational material that's been taught to me and best practices, because I don't have a daughter that's at that age yet. I do have a daughter that we're trying to teach some aspect of internet safety. And to add real quick one thing, a lot of people often ask, well, like, what time, like, 12, 13, should we really talk about internet safety? You should be talking about some form of internet safety the moment they have that electronic device in their hand, right? Because there's something that can be done, and maybe not sexual exploitation. Maybe it's engaging in cyberbullying activity on a low scale level where they're liking things or sharing things that are really negative and kind of hateful, right? Because it starts there, but then by the time they're 12, 13, sometimes even younger nowadays, maybe they're doing something that's much more impactful. And we talked earlier before this about some of these terrible incidents that have been happening around the country. A lot of them kind of happen to fall in line with mental health issues and self-esteem issues, which plague a lot of children these days. And some of that starts when they're much younger. Got off track there, but having that open dialogue with your children, you have to let them know, they have to have trust in you. You have to let them know that they're not going to get in trouble for sharing whatever it is behind that device. And you have to mean that. You can't just say that and then take it away and then find out what they're doing and then get angry with them and then not give them that device back, because then you're going to take away that trust and then they're not going to come to you next time. So overall, you need to build that trust, let them know that what they're doing, if it is bad, that they're going to be okay with you, that you're there to protect them, and that's your end goal. And I think, honestly, when we have this conversation right now, our goal is to keep our kids safe. Yes, we might get upset, we might get angry about situations, but really that's not our focus. Our focus is their safety.
Exactly. And can we recall, or do you recall any of the most recent cases that you guys can actually mention or put as an example? You don't have to give any details or names, of course, but if you can mention an example of the danger that our kids might be exposed and we don't know or we don't see it yet.
Yeah, so a real common thing going on right now, and we know we do have some information that some of these suspects are within the country, but a lot of them are outside of the country. Basically, what they're doing is they're reaching out to kids online. They're sort of establishing a relationship with them. Maybe it's a male, maybe it's a female, and they're telling the opposing sex that they're attractive. Maybe they can share some images. And you have kids as young as 10 years old, sometimes younger, but probably in that 10 to 13-year age range, that end up sharing a nude image of themselves. And then the person on the other end of that device, the suspect who we'll call, says, I'm not really who I say I am, and if you don't send me more images and or videos doing exactly what I'm asking of you, I'm going to send this to your family, I'm going to send it to your friends, and you owe me money as well.
Wow.
So there's a lot of what they call sextortion or blackmailing in the traditional sense that's going on online, and it's really becoming a problem. It's been a problem, but we're seeing a large increase in those cases in the last 6 to 8 months.
Algunos de los casos, o los casos que solían pasar y no se escuchaban mucho, pero ahora sí están cogiendo como que una ola de números crecientes, es lo que le llaman extorsión o el blackmail. So, lo que viene pasando son personas que pueden estar a nivel nacional, pero también fuera del país a nivel internacional. Empiezan a establecer una comunicación con el niño, con el joven, una relación de confianza, establecen esa confianza primero hasta que llega el momento que el sujeto, que puede ser un hombre o puede ser una mujer, eso no hay discriminación en eso, llega el momento que le dice al joven o al niño, mándame una foto tuya desnudo, desnuda, haciendo algo tal vez inapropiado que el niño no debería estar haciendo, y una vez la foto se envía, entonces ese sujeto, hombre o mujer de nuevo, entonces le revela al niño, yo no soy la persona que soy, esto es lo que quiero, me tienes que mandar fotos más haciendo lo que yo te diga que haga. Aparte de eso, me debes dinero. Y si no lo haces y no me mandas dinero, entonces voy a mandar todas estas fotos que me has enviado a tu familia, a tus amigos, a través de las redes electrónicas. Y ahí es que se agarra lo que viene haciendo el crimen, se vuelve completo.
Wow. Increíble.
I have a question about that. So let's say parents don't really know what to do in this situation because the extortion or blackmail is coming out of the country. Like, what is the first step for a parent to stop this situation?
Yeah, the first thing I would say is to talk with the kid, reassure them they didn't do anything wrong, that there's a bigger suspect on the other end of that device that's taking advantage of them, And that's their goal, to do this with kids all throughout the country, because you don't want to lay blame or guilt on the child. They're already going through and experiencing enough, and ensure them that things will be all right. The next thing I would tell you to do is just pick up the phone and call your local police department. We have resources that we can put you in touch with. We have affiliations with organizations who can do their best to try to ensure that those images aren't re-released online. But it's not a guarantee, and that's just me being honest with you. I'd like to tell you that we could save those images. I would say in most instances, though, the images aren't always reshared. It's usually just a threat, because honestly, if you're my target, I don't want to spend too much time with you if I'm not making any money off of you or getting what I want. I'm going to move on to you.
Yeah.
So, the first thing is talk with your children, reassure them it will be okay. It may take some time, but it will be okay. And then contact your local law enforcement agency, and we can put you in touch with the right resources and investigate it to the best of our ability.
A ver, si esto llegara a pasar y los padres no saben qué hacer, no saben cómo responder, les vamos a dar unos pasitos para que puedan por lo menos tener un poco de calma y cómo tal vez poder manejar la situación. Primero, ya han escuchado estas palabras mucho en los últimos 10, 15 minutos. Comunicación y confianza. Comunicación con los niños y que el niño tenga confianza. Tienen que decirles que todo va a estar bien, que no están en problemas, ellos no se van a meter en problemas, no los vas a castigar ni nada de eso, porque el niño ya está pasando por una situación que es bastante incómoda y un niño no debería estar pasando por esa situación de cualquier forma.
Exacto.
Segundo sería llamar al departamento local de la policía. Hay recursos, hay muchos recursos que se le puede dar a los padres para cómo manejar la situación, cómo ayudar a los niños. Y en términos del dispositivo, tal vez and correct me if I'm wrong, so basically some of them, parents may get nervous and they start deleting stuff and
Correct.
stuff like that. So
Do not delete.
so we want to let them know, a los padres, no borren nada del teléfono, porque eso se vuelve evidencia. It becomes evidence. So no borren nada. Sé que es incómodo, it's uncomfortable to have those images on the phone. However, don't delete them. They become evidence. We can collect that, and then we'll return everything once it's possible. So, no borren nada, denle el dispositivo a la policía, cojan los recursos y de ahí entonces pues tratamos de resolver el crimen. Pero es importante saber que usualmente son amenazas de distribuir la imagen. No, muchas veces no lo hacen porque si el goal o el propósito final de ellos es coger dinero, si tú no me vas a mandar dinero rápido, me voy a mover a la próxima persona. So, usualmente son amenazas, pero la foto ya está afuera y usualmente la gente se preocupa qué va a pasar con esa foto en el futuro.
Exacto.
Entonces, no porque la amenaza venga fuera del país quiere decir que no se puede hacer nada.
Correcto. So basically they're saying that just because the threat comes from outside the country, that doesn't mean anything can be done. So it can be done. Just bring everything.
Yeah,
right?
correct. Yes. Is it more difficult? Yes, it is. But we do have some federal partners that we can work with in the law enforcement realm who do have contacts in certain countries, and they do some sort of have a law enforcement capability. It's not like they're all coming from one country where we don't have a working relationship with their law enforcement. Yeah.
Sí. So, vamos a decir, no es que no es imposible, pero es un poco más complicado, tal vez se tarde más en resolver, pero sí tenemos relaciones federales con otros países que tal vez pueden hacer esas conexiones.
Por lo menos se pueda detener.
Sí.
Okay.
So what is the data saying right now? How are the numbers? Like how often we're seeing these cases happening?
Yeah. So who's your target audience with us?
Yeah. What do you mean?
Your target audience. What countries?
Oh well, we are all over, honestly, but mostly like I would say like Cuba, Puerto Rico, Venezuela as well, Peru, I would say Colombia.
Okay. So I bring that specific question up because just before we stepped in here, I was actually looking at the NCMEC tips that we get. And some of them include all of them include some form of child exploitation, where that's human trafficking, cyberbullying, sharing of child sexual abuse material online, some sort of online sexual harassment. So all those are kind of included. Internationally, our tips have just gone up. They've skyrocketed, especially since right around 2019 when COVID came. I don't have the figure for 2014, 2015. I know it's not as high, but last year, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong with the stats, 2020, our international tips that we got as law enforcement was right around the 21 million mark in tips.
Wow.
So 21 million cases of reported and reported concerns of child exploitation online. Last year, we went up to just over 29 million. So, I mean, that's a huge increase. And I don't have the stats in front of me, but I want to say in 2018, we were at about 15 million. So you can see we're almost double within less than 5 years. Yeah. And it's an enormous increase in tips. Something I want to add, a lot of kids, a lot of parents, they probably think when they're thinking of these nude images that we're just talking about pubescent children. But the unfortunate reality is when we look at the overall ages of some of these images that are being shared, this child sexual abuse material, a large amount of these photographs are pre-pubescent children. So I have to share that with you because some parents are like, well, my child's not at that age yet. We may not have to have this conversation about sharing nude images. The conversation needs to be had.
Yeah, no, that's super important.
Wow.
Perdona, tenía que tomar notas para acordarme los números.
Taking notes.
So, alguna cifra, algunos números que queríamos darle. No tenemos cifras específicamente para el 2015-2014, pero en el 2018 el promedio fueron 15 millones de tips o advertencias o reportes de casos a nivel internacional de algún tipo de explotación sexual o acosamiento sexual o cyberbullying o mandando imágenes pornográficas. Y ahora venimos al 2020 y tenemos 21 millones de casos reportados. O si vienen a ver en menos de 5 años o casi 5 años, es casi el doble
Dobló la cifra.
de reportes. Y lo que sí queríamos dejarles saber a los padres que a veces tal vez está esa confusión de que mi hijo no es adolescente, no hay una edad o un gap promedio que se le puede decir entre los 13 y 16 o 17 años. Lamentablemente, la mayoría de los casos que fueron reportados fueron de niños preadolescentes. Eso significa que son 12 o menores.
Wow.
Lo importante es dejarles saber a los padres que solo porque tal vez está esa imagen o esa idea, mi hijo, mi hija no están en esa edad, no son adolescentes, no están en peligro, sí están en peligro. Por eso esas líneas de comunicación tienen que estar abiertas y esa confianza tiene que estar sólida para tratar de evitar.
Qué maravilla. And I believe that, I guess that when a kid is, they know already that they've been trapped or they've been, they feel stuck in this situation. Is there any type of like mental health support or emotional support or something for the kid that within the law enforcement department they
Correct,
get?
yeah. We partner with the Child Advocacy Center, and for medical purposes, we partner with the Child Protection Team here as well, in Gainesville specifically. Some facet of medical as well as mental health, like a Child Advocacy Center, like therapy and that sort of option, is provided throughout the country, some form of it. And I know that NCMEC, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, again, for the audience, they have resources online available to put you in touch with people as well. And before I forget, because this is important for your audience, a lot of the material on NCMEC's website is bilingual. It's in English and Spanish.
Nice.
So I do want to emphasize that.
Yeah. No, and the reason I asked that is because I remember I was actually watching a show. Well, it was Investigation Discovery, actually. And they had a case where this kid got so depressed that she ended up taking, her life.
Yeah.
And it was so sad. It was so sad because they just feel stuck and they feel that their family is also blaming them for this. And it's literally the end of the world, at least of their world.
Sure.
So that's why I wanted kind of like, bring that up, the mental health support and therapy. That's very important. I don't know, you want to kind of like touch on that.
Sí, seguro. So, sí tenemos recursos. Siempre va a venir acompañado algún tipo de mezcla entre servicios médicos, de médicos físicos y salud mental. Aquí tenemos un centro que usualmente usamos. La palabra tal vez se me vaya y tal vez la bandido Gaby pueden ayudar la palabra, pero es un centro de advocación como no rehabilitación, pero es si yo estoy, como quien dice, tú tienes problemas, pero yo estoy apoyando. Un centro de apoyo para niños. Y ellos ofrecen servicios médicos, físicamente médicos y también de salud mental para los niños. Y los detectives también quieren dejar saber que El Centro para Explotación de Niños a nivel nacional e internacional tienen en su página web formas, documentos y mucha información que es bilingüe. Eso tienen información en inglés, en español, también en otros idiomas también posiblemente.
And also because I know and I have worked personally with an organization here that they fight like sexual trafficking, like human trafficking. Not only kids are exposed to this, even adults, like people like they are in their 20s, they're even their 30s, and you know, sometimes people propose stuff that they believe is one thing and end up in another thing.
Correct.
And they end up at a truck being trafficked by these people. And we have, I actually forgot the name of the organization again. Remember, Gabby? I forgot the other day, but I work with them here, and they're amazing. They do a great work. They even go to places. Create against you. Thank you. I love it. I love it. Give me 5. I love them to death. Create against you. And I know that they even go to places that they are potential targets. So it's kind of like putting yourself in danger because when you have a predator, you don't know what they are capable of. So what can you talk to me a little bit before we end about also adults, getting in danger, also being just victims in the internet? What can we talk about that?
Yeah, I think that the difficult part is with online, we've blended reality for a lot of ourselves. Like it used to be like, I met you today, I know you today, but a lot of people think they know that person on the other end of the device, and oftentimes they don't. We're all mistaken. We really don't know that person until we're having this open conversation. We've met you, we've seen you with our own real eyes in person. And a lot of people just get fooled by the persona that people are playing online. That's not always real life for a bulk of people that are online. Anything to add to that, Ronnie?
Yeah, just keep in mind what you're posting online, what you're providing on your profile. Make sure that your privacy settings are what is comfortable for you. Make sure that you're not, putting your home address, your phone number, your social security number, stuff like that online. Also, something else to keep in mind is that when you post a photo, there's the chance that whatever device you used could have included some metadata in that photo. So someone could actually go and search that out through a metadata search engine and find out that location. So that's always something really important to keep in mind.
And that's important. So would you recommend not to, because, iPhones, and not to mention nothing against iPhone, I'm an iPhone guy, but sometimes any device, a smartphone, they ask you, would you allow to use my locations? What would you say to that?
So me personally, I turn all of that stuff off, that location data, unless you're sharing it with somebody that you trust, okay? So if you're online and you could have a ton of friends on social media and you have thousands of friends and half of them you don't know, I would suggest you turning those settings off so that you're not sharing that. And it's the same thing with like on Facebook when you're tagging a location or checking into a location. That's also being shared with everyone if you have an open profile with all over the social media websites. So just something to keep in mind.
Wow, very interesting. I really want to...
See, I have to write it down.
Write it down. It's too much stuff.
So I can, it hurts a little bit sometimes. So, para los adultos, porque usualmente la gente piensa en niños pero ¿qué pasa con los adultos? Porque sabemos que hay adultos que lamentablemente también están involucrados en algún tipo de acoso sexual o tráfico humano, tráfico sexual. ¿Qué se puede hacer o qué medidas también uno puede proteger que serían también buenas enseñárselas a los niños? Si tú lo haces, pues tus hijos lo hacen también. Para los adultos, especialmente si están en el internet o en sus redes sociales, al menos que ustedes tengan 100% confianza que saben que la persona con la que están hablando o comunicándose es la persona que está al otro lado de ese dispositivo. Usualmente siempre va a ser más familia cuando saben que es la familia, pero si no es familia, incluso con los amigos o perfiles que son de amigos, si no están 100% seguros que esa es la persona que está detrás, ¿saben? Tengan un poco de conciencia qué están comentando, qué están compartiendo, qué están mandando. También los settings de privacidad en los teléfonos y en las tabletas y todo, asegúrense que todo esté a su manera, uno se sienta cómodo. Si quieres estar todo privado, pues todo privado. Si están un poco más libres, pues más libres, pero que sea lo que tú estés cómodo, seguro con tenerlo en tu dispositivo. cuando uno comparte fotos o pone fotos online, en las redes, en todo, también se comparte con esa foto. Esa foto tiene, como quien dice, como atraída a ella, metainformación que una persona la puede buscar y puede adivinar o puede definitivamente asegurarse de saber, esta foto se tomó en este lugar específico. Y así es otra forma que pueden saber dónde está esa persona, dónde estás tú. Y últimamente, pues, las opciones de la localización en los teléfonos, cuando uno se pone a taguear, como dicen, pues voy a estar aquí estoy hoy, aquí entré. Esas son formas también que las personas pueden saber dónde tú estás.
Sí.
O,
Dejan
so,
canales
dejan
abiertos
canales
para que los
abiertos
demás sepan.
para que sepan dónde estás. So, es más, es tener conciencia de, no lo pensamos. So people don't think about it. They just like tag themselves, here I am, and then there's no ramification of what that's going to bring. So, es más tener confianza, estar seguros, pero también, if you do it, and you become practice for yourself, then you can teach your kids to do the same. You can teach your children to do that. So it's kind of like...
Very interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
If I could add something to that.
Mucho
question.
peligro hayan.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So when you talk about the child human trafficking concerns for adults, some guidance, not just for adults, but any type of child exploitation, whether it's human trafficking for children or as well as adults, we have to find a good balance when we're using our devices and our social media, because oftentimes, in some, it works really well. Our phones, our social media are our online diary, right? But what suspects often see is vulnerabilities. So they might see someone that just lost their job. They might see a child that's upset. Maybe she's got a single parent. They might see that they're just in a recent breakup in a relationship. All these negative things, which might be a healthy avenue for someone to sort of express themselves, they also have to realize that they're also putting themselves at risk, because offenders are seeing these vulnerabilities. And while they don't discriminate across the board, there are victims in every category and every walk of life. They often do target the ones that have those vulnerabilities.
So, una cosa más que queremos dejar saber es, usualmente, antes de los celulares y todo, siempre estaba el famoso diario, donde uno escribe, y si tenías que desahogarte, pues desahogabas en el diario.
Right.
Los teléfonos y las redes sociales se han convertido en el nuevo diario, y es electrónico. Y cuando uno escribe, no va a ningún sitio. Si lo escribes en puño y letra, papel y bolígrafo o pluma. Pero en las redes sociales está abierto a todo el mundo. Y en términos de la explotación, no solo de niños, pero de adultos, los sujetos o los criminales buscan esa vulnerabilidad, ese momento en que tal vez alguien perdió su empleo, terminaron una relación de muchos años o una relación muy sentimental que estaba establecida, y en esos momentos de debilidad, en ese momento, esos son los momentos y esas personas que los sujetos están buscando para aprovecharse.
Increíble.
Yeah.
So anything else that you guys would like to add to the topic?
I could probably spend all day talking about this if need be. Have the conversation. Visit NCMEC's website, missingkids.org. They have content for elementary age school kids to start having this conversation about what's right and what's wrong online. And to echo something that you said earlier, Gilberto, about our behavior as parents on our phone. They're going to mirror our behavior. So if we're on our phones all the time, if we're sharing all of our content online, our children are probably going to think that it's okay to do the same thing. So we got to take an honest look at ourselves before we can actually even look at our kids.
Wow, that's such a great tip, because we do it. We really do it, and we don't notice it sometimes. So I guess el consejo es pues tratar de mirar lo que hacemos nosotros como adultos para que nuestros niños no hagan lo mismo.
Sí, yo diría especialmente si no sabes cómo. We talked earlier about how we don't know what do we do as parents or what can they do. Look at yourself first.
Exacto.
Look in the mirror and know that your kids are going to mirror what you're doing. So fix yourself. And I don't want to say like raw like that, like fix yourself, but really, really take it into yourself to act how you want your kid to act or emulate you. So para los padres que no saben, no tenían dudas o no saben qué hacer o dónde empezar, mírate en el espejo. lo que tú hagas, usualmente los niños imitan porque
Exacto.
piensan que está correcto. So, si tú estás compartiendo todo en las redes sociales, estás poniendo todo, pues tus hijos van a pensar, eso está bien porque mamá y papá lo hacen. So, empieza a tener esas conversaciones, pero de una forma honesta también. Tiene que ser comunicación y confianza abierta y honestamente, porque el momento que los niños sepan que estás mintiendo, te vas a meter en problemas. So, honest and communication, honest, open, and truthful. If it's not truthful, the moment the kids know that it's not truthful, there's the break. And everything else goes forward from then.
Yeah. So, well, I would like to thank once again Gainesville Police Department. And today we have Corporal Gonzalez and we have Detective Chris and Detective Puro. Yeah, that was better, right?
Got it.
I nailed it. I knew it. Well, thank you so much, guys, for tuning in, for watching on Facebook, on YouTube. Muchas gracias por mirarnos en nuestra transmisión. Thank you for tuning in on the radio. We're going to take a quick break and we're going to be back. Quédate con nosotros en el show de la mañana.
Ya volvemos.